Hey dudes! Superman, the face of superheroes, and arguably the greatest superhero of all time. Sorry, I had a little... And like the other great superheroes, Superman has been portrayed on the big screen with a total of 7 movies, and the 8th coming out this year. Now, with this new Superman releasing in a few months, the culture is extremely divided. One side absolutely hates the idea of a new Superman and scrutinizes every look we get at the film.
This is a guaranteed flop, you guys. Like, I'm gonna really be honest with this statement. I'm kind of looking forward to the Supergirl film than this film. And you know what? She'd probably be more masculine than cornball. Like, for real.
While the other side acts like James Gunn and DC can do no wrong and they're making the greatest comic book movie ever.
He can perfectly embody what makes the Man of Steel special, and I think it's time the actor got more of a spotlight.
Trust me, we gotta let James Gunn cook on this one.
Personally though, as a Marvel fan with no skin in the game, I fall somewhere in the middle. But maybe that's just my Superman ignorance. Maybe I should watch all the Superman movies to really pick a side. What do you guys think? Well, so be it. In this video, I'm gonna watch and review all 7 Superman films. Each film will be ranked on these 5 criteria. Number 1, aura. How cool is Superman, or how cool does he look? How cool does he act? What's his aura looking like? 2, feats. How strong is he? What does he pull off? 3, alter ego. How compelling are the Clark Kent scenes? This is something that's very important to me, guys. 4, sidekicks. How compelling are the villains or additional characters that are not Clark Kent? 5, heroics. Would I trust this Superman to save me? How heroic is he? Each aspect is going to have a score out of 10 that's going to help us get the grade to the different films. And now that we know the rules, let's begin with Superman, the movie. Superman, the movie, follows the now legendary story of Kal-El arriving on Earth, figuring out what it means to be human, what it means to be a hero, what it means to be a symbol of hope. And this is still, honestly, one of the greatest comic book movies ever created. One of the greatest origin stories put to film. Not gonna lie. But let's talk about this criteria. So, Superman's aura. I'd rate Superman's aura in this film an 8 out of 10.
Hi there. Something wrong with the elevator?
Now, there are a couple things that I did not like about him. I'm not gonna lie. The costume.
But what the hell, what?
It's a little silly. It's a little silly. I know it's a classic. I know it's Christopher Reeves. Also, the flying. I mean, it looks amazing for the late 70s. But definitely a little dated. I mean, bro is flying at 2 miles per hour. Next criteria, his feats. Bro flew around the earth so fast, he reversed time. Now, is that possible? Nah. Is it cool? Yeah! Also, we had a couple scenes moving some pretty big boulders. I thought it was pretty impressive. Throw it on the feats, why not? I gave Superman a 7 out of 10 for his feats. Next criteria, his alter ego, the Clark Kent scenes. Very, very compelling. I loved his relationship with Lois. The way he played Clark, the way he played Superman, drastically different. It really gave the character some depth. And also, we got to see young Clark with his family back in Kansas, man. So I gave the alter ego a rating of 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed Clark Kent. Next criteria, baby. Sidekicks. How were the side characters? Bro, Lois, bruh. Mwah! Masterclass. That is how you do a love interest. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Mary Jane. Hang on, Mary Jane. Sucks. Lois Lane? Peak. I ain't gonna lie. Lois Lane and Clark Kent's connection is pretty much the heart of the film. I mean, they got crazy chemistry. It was also cool seeing Clark Kent have a buddy and Jimmy Olsen at work. Lex Luthor was pretty cool in this movie. Now, his henchman was like the comic relief, so it was very goofy, and his music was very goofy. I did like Lex Luthor though, but I didn't like his stupid companions. So overall, for sidekicks and side characters, I would rate Superman a 7 out of 10. They were very compelling. Lois Lane, magnifique. On to the final criteria for this film, heroics. I'm just gonna say it, 10 out of 10. Superman saved the day like crazy in this movie. He was saving cats from trees.
Hey, Frisky, will you come down from there?
Hi, I'll get him. Come on, it's all right.
Gee, thanks, mister.
Oh. Bye, Frisky. Come on now.
According to my calculations, Superman the movie averages out to a B- grade. Using our criteria, hey, a B- is pretty good. It doesn't sound good, but the movie is definitely better than a B-. I would recommend you go watch it, no cap. Now, with Superman being graded, that moves us on to Superman 2. Now, Superman 2 sees Superman facing his most dangerous threat yet, fighting fellow Kryptonian General Zod and his 2 lackeys. Now, Superman's aura did unfortunately take a hit, getting a rating of 6.5 out of 10. I had to take some aura points away because he was ducking from Zod and the crew towards the end. He was literally ducking. And they stole his girl. He let that happen. Superman, why would you let that happen? Half the movie, everyone's like, where's Superman at? You're losing your aura, bro. You're letting the people down. Now for the feats, nothing as crazy as flying in reverse in time, but we see laser eyes in action. We see the ice breath in action, and he had that weird Captain America, I don't know. Now, boxing with 3 Kryptonians is a feat within itself, so that grants Superman a rating of 6 out of 10. On to the next criteria, alter ego. He did take a hit here, but it's not as big as the other ones. I gave the Clark Kent scenes a 7 out of 10 for this film because we got a lot of Clark and Lois in this movie. Now, that's cool because they have that great chemistry and it was pretty engaging for me. But we also saw Clark get that butt whooped in a diner. I mean, that made him lose some aura, and it kind of took me out of the Clark scenes. I'm like, what's going on? Because I'm like, bro, I don't want to watch my superhero get beat up. Why would I want to watch that? Now, sidekicks, tough, okay? Off the rip, they get a 9 out of 10 because Zod was peak, okay? He was imposing, he had aura, he was scary. We like, is Superman gonna beat him? I don't know, he's ducking. Hey, Zod got it. Lex Luthor was a lot better this time around. He was way more slimy, backstabbing Superman, teaming up with Zod to destroy his rival. Loved it. Lois was pretty cool until she learned Clark was Superman, then she just started acting really weird. Next criteria, heroics. Now, Superman took another hit in this category as well. In this film, he was way too worried about Lois. He should have been worried about saving the people. Plus, he gave up his powers for a little bit of the movie. Why would you do that? Superman, what are you doing? For those reasons, Superman's heroics have to be lowered to a 6 out of 10, I can't lie. Averaging out all our ratings and criteria, Superman gets a grade of a D+. Yikes. Yikers. Dang, man. Superman 2 was a downgrade from Superman 1. Hopefully 3 will be better. Superman 3. Trash. I'm not gonna lie. Just ass. So Superman 3 is a major downgrade from the first 2. Superman's not even the main character. He's not. It's Gus Gorman. And they turned Superman into Homelander. Oh yeah, we're gonna get into it. Alright, straight off the rip. Aura. Superman loses all his aura in the film. All of it. We had a scene of Superman getting drunk in a bar and flinging his nuts all around the establishment. Literally.
Hey, come on.
He had the kids all sad and depressed. He was crashing out in the middle of a junkyard. For these reasons, his aura is a 2 out of 10. Next up, feats. I mean, he froze a lake and lifted it. I thought that was pretty cool. He was zooming around faster than missiles. Well, we couldn't even see it for real because they were showing it on Atari. What? But honestly, for feats, I'll be generous and give him a 4 out of 10. I'll be generous. Next up, alter ego, the Clark Kent scenes. Trash. We literally got to see Clark Kent fight Superman. It made no sense. But he was still getting that butt whooped. You heard? Then for most of the movie, Clark Kent was cheating on Lois with this random chick from his high school. It makes no sense. Strange enough, there weren't too many Clark Kent scenes, and for all those reasons I just listed off, alter ego is a 3 out of 10, man. Sidekicks. Here we go, get ready. Lois Lane is only in the movie for 3 minutes. The villains suck. The high school subplot was super weird. The high school characters all just unnecessary. And Jimmy Olsen, he got sidelined after he got scorched. For all these reasons and the terrible villains, I mean the computer was the villain. Now for all those reasons, and let me say this one more time, the villains were terrible. But for all those reasons, I'm gonna give Sidekicks 2 out of 10. It was just horrible, horrible watch, guys, horrible watch. Final criteria, heroics. Bro was literally transformed into Homelander in this movie. Hashtag not my Superman. He was far more concerned with chasing the ladies than saving the people. Superman, you let me down, bro. Heroics? 1 out of 10. While lives were in danger, Superman was getting busy with one of the villainous ladies. It was ridiculous. She seduced Superman.
How about a little après-ski? Champagne?
According to our criteria and my calculations, Superman 3 gets a grade of an F. And it deserves an F negative. I hated this movie. But now I'm done talking about Superman 3. Hopefully Superman 4 is pretty good. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Barely better than Superman 3. Superman 3 was awful. This one is terrible. So, I mean, if you count that as better. Going straight into our criteria, beginning with aura. There is a scene where Superman emits a large amount of aura. The scene where he declares a ban on nuclear weapons, he's just oozing aura. But other than that, for the rest of the movie, the villain of this film literally scratched him up like a kitty cat. And he was terminally ill and damaged. You're losing all your aura from that, pal. Now for these reasons, I would have to give Superman a rating of 3 out of 10 for the aura. Now next up, feats. Now we did see some pretty impressive feats of strength in this film, not gonna lie. We saw Superman slice the top of a mountain off with his laser eyes, pick the top of the mountain up, flip it upside down, stuff it into a volcano to stop the volcano from erupting, and I thought that was pretty freaking cool. He easily moved the entire moon to cause an eclipse, and I thought that was pretty freaking cool too. So for these feats of strength, his feats get an overall rating of 8 out of 10. Bro was snapping in this movie, I can't lie. Unfortunately, it didn't look the best because these effects were the worst in the entire franchise. I guess they ran out of money when they were making a 4th movie, and it really shows. Next up on our criteria, we have alter ego. Now the Clark Kent scenes in this film were actually pretty cool. We had a scene where Clark Kent and Superman had to be in the same place at once, and it was very cool to watch. Seeing Clark and Superman flip personas back and forth trying to impress the ladies, it was peak. I ain't gonna lie, it was peak. Overall, the alter ego for this film gets a 5 out of 10 rating. It was pretty smooth. On to the next criteria. Sidekicks. As I previously mentioned, Clark with his girls, I really enjoyed it. There was also a Daily Planet subplot involving those characters, which I was actually kind of invested in. The film ended with them finally getting their company back, and it was very wholesome. The villain in this film was very imposing and powerful, but I mean, he had kitty claws, he barely even spoke because he wasn't that smart.
Stupid.
So he was just okay. He was okay, I guess. Lex Luthor is back in the 4th film, and he has some pretty good banter with Superman. So overall, I'd have to give the Sidekicks a rating of 5 out of 10. Next criteria, heroics. Now I did mention early on Superman put a strict ban on nuclear weapons. However, by the end of the movie, this does get overturned, so does it really count as being heroic? Also, towards the end of the film, he literally sat there and watched the villain destroy the city in front of him. I mean, he was blowing up cars, reversing time. I mean, I thought that was weird. Lifting people up. I mean, it made no sense. And Superman standing there watching it all. So for these reasons, his heroics, 2 out of 10. That's the rating they get. Calculating all our criteria, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, receives an F as its grade. Dang, man, this series really went downhill fast. It's almost like it needs a reboot. So Superman Returns, pretty interesting film. It acts like it's a reboot and also a continuation of the Christopher Reeve film, so it's somewhere in the middle. Superman and Lois were in some sort of love triangle where Lois had a fiance and they had a kid, but it turns out it's actually Superman's kid on the low. Drama. We got a new Lex Luthor played by Kevin Spacey. I think he was pretty well cast, but they didn't give him too much to do in this movie. But overall, Superman Returns was okay. It's not one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen. I see a lot of people label it as that, but I thought it was just fine. Maybe a little. Maybe I wanted to take a nap a little bit. but I stayed awake through it. So finally getting down to our criteria, Superman's aura in this film is pretty interesting. I really like the new suit. The flight scenes are fantastic for the first time. You can see they finally elevated the visuals of his flight. It was actually fast now. He looks great in action, except the laser eyes. In this film, the laser eyes are... But overall for aura, I'd give him a rating of 7.5 out of 10. That's not bad. Next criteria up is feats. How strong was this Superman? He had a scene where he had to catch a falling airplane, which was pretty impressive. Then at the end of the movie, he lifted this enormous island with kryptonite all around him. That was pretty impressive. So for feats, I would give this iteration of Superman a 7.5 out of 10. Next criteria is alter ego. So how good were the Clark Kent scenes? His Clark Kent was kind of boring to me, guys. His Clark Kent was kind of boring. His charisma, his performance, it was nothing compared to Christopher Reeve. But I mean, it was still cool. It was all right. So for alter ego, I would have to give this film a 5 out of 10. I mean, that's not that bad. Next criteria, sidekicks. As I previously mentioned, Lois Lane had a fiance. So Lois Lane and her man, they were fine. I didn't like it. I don't like the love triangle stuff. Lex Luthor wasn't really in this one that much, but when he was on screen, he was pretty cool. So for these reasons, this film earns a 5 out of 10 in the sidekicks department. Next criteria up is heroics, and I gave this Superman a 6 out of 10. Because now we do see him at the end of the movie saving people, saving the city, but the plot does state that this Superman has been missing for years, missing in action, so I had to take a couple points off. So yeah, his heroics, I give him a rating of 6 out of 10. So averaging all our criteria together, Superman Returns earns a grade of a D-. That's pretty bad, but I mean the movie wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that great. Maybe we make a return to greatness with Man of Steel. Yes sir, next film on the list is Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Now Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is another origin story for the Superman, but it's very stylized and very unique. By far, Man of Steel has the best action in the entire franchise. These Kryptonians really feel like an unstoppable threat, bro. And props to Zack Snyder, the way he filmed the flight scenes, magnifique. But getting down to our criteria, we're gonna start with aura. Henry Cavill's Superman gets a 10 out of 10 rating for aura. Best Superman suit, best laser eyes, best flight scene, best fight scenes, best strength.
I talk better, I walk better, my shoes fit me better, I get paid more than you.
This Superman is just the best. I mean, he's not better than Christopher Reeve as far as, you know, charisma, but as far as everything else, he got it, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This is easily the coolest Superman has ever been on screen. Easily. Next criteria up, we have feats. I previously mentioned this is the coolest iteration of Superman, but it's also the most powerful. We see this Superman breaking the sound barrier several times, smashing through buildings, smashing through planes. And a huge feat, he destroyed the massive world engine that was terraforming Earth. So for these reasons, I would have to give this Superman a rating of 8 out of 10 in the feats department. Next criteria is the alter ego. How were the Clark Kent scenes? I really enjoyed the scenes with young Clark and seeing him learn to hone his abilities and control his powers. But overall, Henry Cavill's Clark Kent is interesting because half the movie he's not really Clark. He's like incognito and using fake aliases and trying to hide his identity because he doesn't want to be discovered by the government. But I still really enjoyed Henry Cavill's more reserved take on Clark Kent instead of the overly nice Boy Scout that Christopher Reeve did. But overall, I have to give Henry Cavill's Clark Kent a 6 out of 10. I mean, that's fine. Now for our next criteria, sidekicks. How were the side characters? General Zod, peak. I mean, he was incredible. Lois Lane was awesome. We saw more of Clark Kent's mom, which I feel was missing in every other iteration. And it was really cool to watch the military grow to accept Superman. Overall, the sidekicks / side characters were done very well, so I'd give them a rating of 9 out of 10. And our final criteria for Man of Steel, heroics. Now, you guys have seen the memes, you guys have seen the scene. Superman causes way too much destruction when fighting Zod, bro. I mean, he's supposed to be trying to save the city, save the people. He even took them out to space for a little bit of the fight, and then they came crashing back down, causing even more destruction. Now, when he was younger, we did see him save a bus full of students. I mean, that's heroic. Even in Smallville, though, his fights were just massive collateral damage and trains getting blown up, trains flying through the city, planes crashing through the streets. It was chaos. His heroics for me are a 4 out of 10. I mean, he just cause too much destruction, bro. Like, we gotta limit these casualties, bro. Come on, Superman, lock in. Averaging all our criteria, Man of Steel gets a super grade of a C-. That sounds worse than it actually is. This is probably my second favorite Superman movie out of all of them. But next up is the final Superman film, Batman vs. Superman. Now, Batman vs. Superman isn't just a Superman film. There's Batman too. It's more of a team-up film in the same vein of Deadpool and Wolverine, if that makes sense. Now, in this film, we're introduced to a bunch of legendary DC characters. We get Batman, of course, we get Wonder Woman, and we get Zack Snyder's weird interpretation of Lex Luthor now. I'm gonna get to that. But starting off with our first criteria, aura. How's the aura? Batman vs. Superman. Superman is very mopey, if that makes sense. He's not giving off the same strong, confident aura he was giving off in the first movie. Not to mention, Batman pretty much wipes the floor with him, and he dies in the end. That lands this Superman a rating of 8 out of 10 in the aura department. He's still aura forming for most of the movie, but he has a few low spots. Next criteria is feats. Now we see this Superman boxing with Doomsday, boxing with Batman, surviving huge explosions, surviving nuclear explosions in outer space. That earns this Superman a rating of 7.5 out of 10 as far as feats. Next criteria will be the alter ego. How are the Clark Kent scenes? A lot better in this film than Man of Steel. We got to see way more of Clark. We got to see him interact with Bruce Wayne. We got to see him investigate the Batman. We got to see Clark really getting active, bro, and I really enjoyed it. He had several scenes within the Daily Planet where his boss is like, stop investigating that Bat Vigilante, you knock it off. But he just kept going after it because he was committed, bro. Now, comparing to Christopher Reeve, he's not the same. It's just a different interpretation. I really do like what he was doing with Clark though. So talking alter ego, Batman vs. Superman gets a rating of 7 out of 10. Next criteria up is sidekicks. Now, this is where Zack Snyder made some very interesting decisions. Starting off with what I liked, I really did like Zack's interpretation of Batman. Now, it's sad we never got a DCEU Batman film. Like, how do you fumble the bag that hard, bro? How do you do that? I feel Lois Lane in this film was pretty cool, but she was just kind of sidelined, if I'm being honest. Wonder Woman is in this film, and she really feels like a last-minute addition. Like, she was just thrown in there just to be in the final battle. Her interactions with Batman were pretty cool, but she just felt rushed. Zack Snyder made Jimmy Olsen a CIA agent and killed him in the first scene of the film. Very strange. I mean, Jimmy Olsen's supposed to be Superman's best friend and Lex Luthor, aka the Joker. Okay, this is not Lex Luthor in any way. Yes, he's smart. Yes, he has technology, but he's just the Joker. I mean, he's manipulating Batman, manipulating Superman, and blowing stuff up. I mean, he's really the Joker. Due to a lot of these super strange interpretations, I would give Batman vs. Superman's sidekicks a rating of 5 out of 10. Now, the final criteria for the final Superman movie, heroics. How heroic is the Man of Steel? In this film, we get another massive battle with massive damage, most likely massive casualties. I mean, yes, Doomsday is crazy destructive, right? Again, another scene where we get him into outer space, but he somehow crashes back down to the surface. Superman, fight these beings in space. Stop fighting them down here. Why are you trying to kill us? Also, the bombing scene at City Hall. Now, yes, Superman couldn't see because the wheelchair was lined with lead, but gang, you still let all those people in there die. I mean, it's not very heroic. Due to these reasons, I would give Superman's heroics a rating of 5 out of 10 for Batman vs. Superman. Let's calculate this grade. Now, averaging out all our criteria together, Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, the extended edition, gets a grade of a D-. Wow. So, after all that. So I watched all 7 live-action Superman movies, and I was thoroughly surprised. There were a few that I really enjoyed, but there were also a few that I really hated. So I have 2 different tier lists for you guys. This is the tier list that's based off of our criteria and what I use to rank every film. And this is the personal tier list, which, you know, is based off of just my personal enjoyment and which film I think is the best, which films I know are the worst. Now, if you waited this long to hear my opinion on the James Gunn situation and the DCEU's Superman, you're gonna have to keep waiting. I'm gonna have to make that a separate video. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on, my dad's calling. Yellow.
Yo.
What's up? That had to talk to Pops. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like. Leave a comment if you want me to watch any other film series or any character. Like, I was thinking about doing all the Batman films. But if you're new to the channel, you know, please subscribe, help me out. You know, we're a growing channel. We're pretty small, but you know, let's do this. Let's do this. And if you're still here at the very end of the video, I want you to comment SHIELD down below. I just saw Captain America Brave New World a couple days ago. That job went pretty fire. But anyways, comment SHIELD down below. But until next time, it's been your boy Scat Pack Sean, and I am out.